Om Shri Sai Ram. Chapter 4. On 11th April 2003, Ma and Uncle moved to their new residence. In this house, they had reserved the largest room for the mandir, so that the bhajans could be conducted properly. There was a beautiful picture of Swami in the center of the room, and two smaller pictures of Shirdi Baba and Swami on either side. On the right hand side, a sofa was placed for Baba, and on the left for Swami. An idol of Shirdi Baba and those of all the beautiful forms of God were placed on a step in front of the pictures. Even while they were setting it up, Vibhuti, Kumkuma and honey began to appear. Now Swami had a novel way of informing Ma of his arrival in the mandir. In the early hours of the morning, usually between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., when Swami arrived to give darshan, the bhajan Hari Narayana, Hari Narayana, Hari Narayana Bhajore would begin to play on its own on a high volume. The sound appeared to be originating from the music system in the mandir, although there was no CD or cassette placed inside it. As soon as she heard this, Ma would jump out of her bed and run to the mandir to have darshan of the Lord. Sometimes the same bhajan would play 2 or 3 times in a row without a pause. Uncle would rarely wake up at that time, and on the days that he did not venture in. He would sit at the dining table in the room adjoining the mandir and wait for Ma to come out. On a few occasions, Uncle heard Ma speak fluently in Telugu. He was taken aback, as Ma is Punjabi and has no knowledge whatsoever of Telugu. Uncle belongs to Kerala, so he is familiar with this language from South India. On 4 or 5 occasions, Swami told Ma to ask Uncle, who was sitting at the dining table, to make some coffee for him. Though he would get nervous, Uncle prepared the coffee with utmost love and care. Ma carried the cup in and Swami had the coffee steaming hot. Once he left some coffee in the cup, which Uncle gratefully had as prasadam. This bhajan, which announced the arrival of the Lord, would sometimes begin to play on its own during the Thursday bhajans. At these times, the bhajan singer would stop singing and all would repeat Hari Narayana in voices choked with emotion. Sometimes the bhajan would repeat. At other times, another bhajan would follow. Once the Gayatri mantra in Swami's voice played 108 times. There were 2 occasions on which bhajans began to play on their own on a particular day and continued to play non-stop through day and night for 2 to 3 days. Once, while this was going on, the power supply went off, but the bhajans did not stop playing. For the past few years, devotees had been keeping small dipis in the mandir with a prayer to Swami to bless them. Sometimes his blessings manifested the next day and sometimes after a few weeks. Some devotees kept dipis before their birthdays praying for a gift from Swami. One day, a devotee wished to get guidance from Swami on some very important issue. She wrote a letter to him. In the letter, she asked a question and followed it below with a few options as the possible answers. She sealed the letter, addressed it to Swami, and with a prayer placed it before his picture. Swami did not disappoint her. When Ma saw that there was Vibhuti on the envelope, she called up this lady, who lost no time in reaching the mandir. When she picked up the envelope, she saw that it was still sealed. There was some Vibhuti on the envelope, so she opened it very carefully and took out the letter. There was more Vibhuti inside the letter. When she looked up, her eyes were moist with tears. Swami had put a mark in a light orange color on one of the options that she had written. She bowed down in deep gratitude to the most loving and merciful Lord. After this, hundreds of devotees have kept letters addressed to Swami, praying for his divine guidance. Some he answers and some he does not, but blesses with vibhuti, kumkuma or honey. There may be some he chooses to ignore. There have been times when a letter has disappeared for a few days and then reappeared. He has a few times asked Ma to pick up a letter and throw it away. Once he tore a sealed letter with his own hands. One day, in the month of July 2005, Ma left school as usual to go home in the afternoon. She needed a recharge on her mobile, so she walked to the mobile store and bought a recharge coupon. It was a very hot day, and feeling tired, she began to walk back home. A cycle rickshaw came and stopped by her side. Messaging on her phone, she sat on it without looking up. They were home in less than 5 minutes. The rickshaw stopped in front of the main gate of the building in which she lived. Ma asked the rickshaw puller how much she owed him. He asked for 11 rupees. She found it a bit strange, not 5, not 10, but 11. She looked up at him and asked, "Why 11? But he insisted. She searched her bag but could not find a 1 rupee coin. Ma looked at him again to see that she did not have the chain. When she gasped, "Baba!" It was Shirdi Baba. She hurriedly took out a 100 rupee note from her bag and said, "Baba, please accept this." Baba said, "No, I want 11 rupees. She pleaded once again. Baba said, "Okay, if you don't have 11 rupees, take this." Vibhuti began to pour out of his hand onto hers. She was in tears. At that moment, she saw that around her everything was stationary. It was as if everything had come to a standstill. The cars, the people on the road, and even the customers in the grocery shop across the road. The scene around her seemed to have frozen in time. As she looked down, she noticed a circle of vibhuti around the rickshaw. Then, before she knew, he was gone. She was crying, feeling dejected that she had not been able to give Baba what he had asked for. Slowly, she began to walk into the building. At the main gate, the guard who was on duty at that time had seen the entire Leela. He followed Ma upstairs to her house. She was still crying silently. He rang the doorbell. Hema, who was visiting them at that time, opened the door. Excitedly, he told her that he had seen Shirdi Baba materializing vibhuti and pouring it on Ma's hand. Hema ran down to the road. She saw that the circle of vibhuti was still there. In the meanwhile, Ma, still in a daze, took 11 rupees and went to the mandir. She offered this at the image of his divine lotus feet. As she bowed her head at his feet and got up, she saw that the money was gone. Om Shri Sai Ram. I would like to share with the readers a few of my own experiences leading to my change of heart and accepting Him as God. It was in 1973 when I had gone to New Delhi to bring my family back to Lucknow after their holidays at my in-laws' place. I boasted of returning home without seeing Swami, who was on a visit to New Delhi at that time. But Swami, my Lord Preceptor, had other ideas and willed otherwise. Someone who came to receive me told me that my younger daughter, Minnie, had taken seriously ill. She was admitted to a nursing home, so he ordered the cab driver to take us to the nursing home in R.K. Puram. I was distraught with worry. "Come to golf links tomorrow," a voice ordered me from within. So armed with the orders, I reached there and occupied a vantage position outside the boundary wall of the house where my Lord was expected to give darshan. When the appointed time came, Swami came as if floating above the ground. I thrust my right hand through the barbed wire fencing and shouted at the top of my voice, "Baba, kindly touch me," several times lest he fails to listen. He came where I stood and touched me by my knuckles. With his blessings, my daughter recovered and we all came back to Lucknow. This incident brought about a sea change both externally and internally, changing my entire mindset. I was never the same again. The transformation was complete and unchangeable. The miracles of Swami are many and varied. About 5 years back, Swami had come to my house, Sai Nilayam, to give darshan to my wife. During the course of the darshan, at around 3:30 a.m., my wife came out where I was sitting and told me that Swami had ordered for coffee. Dismayed at the suddenness of the order and the possible delay it might involve in its delivery, for want of ready availability of necessary ingredients for its preparation, I almost ran the risk of getting into an argument with her. She suddenly understood the situation and told me about the availability of ready-made coffee in the pantry. Cutting short a long discussion, I got down to business and prepared the coffee and handed it to her to be delivered to Swami in the temple. I heard her speaking with Swami in impeccable Telugu, of which she had absolutely no knowledge whatsoever. Swami can make anybody speak in any language, choice or no choice. Swami drank the coffee in a jiffy and handed back the cup to her with a little coffee left in the bottom of the cup as prasadam for me. The doctor of doctors was once treated by my humble self. Sitting in the temple one day, my wife got the inspiration that I should advise a homeopathic medicine for Swami and place it next to his chair in the temple. As we had seen in some video recordings, since the time that Swami had the fall in Vrindavan, he appeared to be having a problem in walking. I have done a deep study in homeopathy and practice it as a hobby. I placed a prescription along with necessary medicines in dilutions at my Lord's lotus feet. The duration of the treatment was about 2 months. When the bottle was placed on his table, the medicine in the bottle reduced steadily for the period, indicating that he was following the prescription. I was very grateful to my Lord. I would like to recall one more incident of Swami's miracles before signing off. It was some 6 or 7 years back in time. The entire building was in the danger of going up in flames in the middle of the night due to a short circuit in the switch room. There were many gas cylinders lying close by. Also, all the cars were parked next to the switch room. There was a lot of panic and chaos in the building. My wife asked me, my elder daughter, and her 2 kids who had come from Canada to spend their vacation to leave the house and seek a safer haven downstairs. She saw us off and came back to her temple and saw, to her utter surprise, that Bhagwan was sitting in his chair in the temple. He smiled and raised both his hands in blessing. She knew that he would take care. When we came up, we saw that there was a lot of fresh vibhuti on the dining room wall. Swami took care of a potentially very dangerous situation and saved the day. Mr. Y. V. Dharan, Lucknow. In my conflict-ridden life, when I got Sai Bhajan and when I went to Sai Nilayam, I saw many miracles. With these miracles, my life changed. Once, My husband had a lot of problem in his foot. He could not go to our shop to work, so I used to go. Once on a Thursday, I was desperate to go for bhajan, and with Baba's grace, my husband suddenly turned up there and told me to go to attend the bhajan. As soon as I reached, I got the feeling that Baba had come for the bhajan. Something in me had told me to hurry up. Baba has come to the mandir. From the time I entered there, I kept crying. From that day onwards, slowly my life changed. At that time, our children were very small. I used to be very disturbed. With Baba's grace, everything kept turning out well. My children are now grown up and well educated. My son is now an engineer. Some years back, I came to know that I had a tumor in my breast. I was sitting for bhajan and I told Swami that I don't want to get surgery done. I had a surgery earlier and also I did not have the money for a surgery. I prayed that Swami, you will have to cure me with medicines only. Just then, during the bhajan, I saw Vibhuti on my lap. With Swami's grace, I was cured of the tumor in 15 days. Once, I was sitting in the bhajan thinking that I have heard but never seen a Rudraksha Mala come in the mandir. Just then, I saw a Rudraksha Mala appear on Swami's picture. It kept growing till it became a full mala. In this way, I kept witnessing miracles and my life kept changing slowly and things settled down. Indu Seth, Lucknow. Om Shri Sai Ram.